The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like hornets trapped in a jar. The air was stale, heavy with the scent of old carpet, plastic chairs, and anticipation, thick, stifling, like a storm about to break. Cameras rolled silently in the corners, red lights blinking. A producer whispered into a headset behind the scenes, nodding as he watched the stage like a hawk. Every detail was designed for drama. Judge Judy entered like a tempest in heels. She didn't so much walk as command the space, shoulders squared, eyes sharp, lips pursed with judgment that seemed preloaded. She didn't need context. She was context to millions of viewers. Her gavel wasn't just wood. It was justice incarnate. She sat with practiced ease, her robe flowing like a curtain before the show begins. But what she didn't expect, what none of them expected, was the woman standing at the opposite podium. Jasmine Crockett, not the usual guest for this syndicated courtroom drama. No, Jasmine wasn't there for an eviction squabble or a family feud. She had agreed, after persistent requests and a carefully orchestrated invitation, to appear for a special segment on accountability in public service. The producers promised it would be fair, respectful, even productive. Jasmine had her doubts, but she believed in meeting fire with clarity. She had grown up in Dallas, Texas, dusty summers, long evenings on porches, and Sundays thick with gospel music and the scent of cornbread. Her mother was a schoolteacher, her father a postal worker. They didn't have much, but they had dignity. They had grit. Jasmine grew up understanding struggle, watching friends fall to poverty or prison. She wanted out not just for herself, but for them. Law was her way in. Justice was her calling. Years later, she would run for office. Not for ambition, but because no one else was saying what needed to be said. She was loud, bold, unapologetically black, and proudly informed. That combination made her a lightning rod. But it also made her a voice the people trusted, and here she was on the show she never watched but always knew. Judge Judy leaned forward, her gavel tapping once with theatrical precision. "Ms. Crockett," she began, voice like ice under pressure, "I'm curious why someone with your background, a supposed champion for justice, seems more interested in stirring division than in solving problems." Jasmine blinked once, twice, not from shock. She had been waiting for this. She smiled, not with amusement, but with recognition. She'd seen this tactic before. Shame masked as inquiry. "I'm here," Jasmine replied, her voice smooth, "because the people I represent don't get invited into rooms like this. And when we are, we're expected to bow." The audience shifted uncomfortably. The tension was rising. Judge Judy wasn't used to being challenged not like this. "I'm not here to play politics," the judge said, her tone sharpening. "I call things as I see them. And what I see is someone who's more interested in tick-tock, sound bites than policy." Jasmine's jaw tightened. She thought about the late nights, the handwritten letters from constituents, the single mothers who came into her office crying about evictions, the boys who dodged bullets and bad options every day. That wasn't a sound bite. That was survival. "I'm sorry you see me that way," Jasmine said, keeping her voice low, steady. "But maybe you're not looking hard enough, or maybe you don't know what it means to have to scream to be heard." The silence was thunderous. The crew stood still. A camera operator's hands trembled slightly, adjusting the focus. Judge Judy's face changed only slightly. A twitch near her eye, a flicker, like she'd just realized she'd stepped into a different arena, and that's when Jasmine leaned forward, not in aggression but in quiet power. "You think you're shaming me," she said. "But you don't know my people. You don't know what it feels like to carry generations on your back, only to be told your voice is too much. You don't know how many nights I've stayed awake trying to make the right call, knowing it would still be called the wrong one. There it was, the truth, plain and raw. A courtroom show had become a stage for something else, something real. Judge Judy opened her mouth, then closed it. Her usual comebacks clattered silently to the floor between them. Jasmine didn't gloat. She didn't grandstand. She just stood taller. And then Judge Judy did something no one had ever seen her do. She stood up, fast. Her hands trembled as she pushed the chair back. Her breath hitched just once, barely audible, but it was there. Without a word, she turned and walked off the set. Jasmine stood still, heart pounding not from triumph, but from release. She hadn't come to win. She'd come to speak, and she had. Backstage, the producers scrambled. One held a clipboard, blinking in disbelief. Did she just walk out? The cameraman whispered. She walked out trembling. That moment rippled outward, far beyond the set. The clip would go viral within hours, but the story, the real story, was much bigger. Because there was a girl in Houston, sitting on a twin mattress surrounded by textbooks and dreams too big for her zip code, who watched Jasmine and felt seen for the first time. There was an older man in Detroit who had lost faith in politics, but saw in Jasmine the daughter he never had. There were thousands, millions, who watched and remembered the power of truth spoken plainly. Meanwhile, Jasmine's life kept moving. Back in Washington, she faced new challenges. More scrutiny, more condescension disguised as debate. But she also found unexpected allies. One of them was a young Republican staffer, Sam, whose father had been a coal miner. He didn't always agree with Jasmine's policies, but he respected her honesty. Their quiet conversations away from cameras began to shift his thinking and hers. Another was her own assistant, Carla, a single mom putting herself through law school at night. Watching Jasmine stand her ground on that stage had reminded Carla why she was fighting, why every tired morning and every missed birthday party was worth it. Jasmine mentored her, not with lectures, but with presence. One evening, long after the clip had stopped trending, Jasmine walked alone through the halls of the Capitol. The marble echoed under her heels. She paused near a window, looking out at the city she both loved and mistrusted. She thought about shame, and how it had been used as a weapon against people like her, and how, when met with courage, it lost its sting. She thought about Judy, not with spite, but with understanding. Maybe the judge hadn't trembled from fear. Maybe it had been something deeper, recognition, a crack in the armor. Jasmine whispered, to no one in particular, "They can't shame what won't bow." And with that, she turned and kept walking. Because the work was far from over, and the world was watching.